Hello and welcome to the Shakedown, where we talk about the criminal justice system from the inside out. I'm your host, Rainforest, aka Ryan Forbes, and I spent 6 years in prison and also studied the criminal justice system, getting a degree in sociology, specializing in social welfare. And I am here with
La-ti-da.
And the one telling me to la-ti-da is our orangutan enthusiast, who also has some knowledge of the criminal justice system, Malone.
Malone. That's me.
And we also have another expert in the criminal justice system, David Brown.
David, my full name.
That's not
Everybody else gets a one-liner. I get a full name. That's fine.
No, he's Rainforest. That's not a one-liner. It's 2 words.
I did give my full name, too.
That's true. You did. And unfortunately,
He gave his nickname. Why don't we give your nickname?
I did give my nickname,
That
Rainforest.
was his nickname.
Oh.
Asian Brown.
I'm now a part of the AB.
Asian Brown.
Oh my God, you're gonna have to edit that one out.
Get down, Asian Brown.
It's fine.
He's a 70s detective.
If they know what the AB is, then they're really studying the criminal justice system, and it's okay.
This is true.
They know what's going on. So, anyway, last time we spoke, we talked about how to talk about prison abolition, and I ended up giving out a whole bunch of incorrect statistics. So, Yes, I know, it's crazy. Speaking off the top of my head, totally unprepared, and I gave out a whole bunch of incorrect statistics.
So even though it seemed like you knew what you were talking about and that you totally aced all those problems or questions that I shot your way, in all reality, you just lied your way through it, and none of that information was correct.
Well, I will say this: the heart of those answers to those questions were totally correct. It was on point. The stats, the actual numbers to back them up, I was wrong on them. And I wanted to give the correct numbers so that if someone wants to use these stats to back up the answers I gave last time, they will have them in this episode. So that is what I want to say. And in fact, some of the things I was incorrect on, I actually underestimated in the numbers, and I actually put that in the last episode and showed that for those of you who watched it on YouTube, you can actually see places where I put the underestimated parts in the video as well.
Great.
Yes. I see you guys are so excited to talk about statistics.
You just like stole
I
it
don't know
out
what
there.
statistics we're talking about, so I mean, but yes, once I find out, then I'll be excited.
I mean, I'm sure. You're not giving us a specific statistic or anything. So,
Well, all right. Well, are
we like going to go back and hear my question that I asked you, or my problem that I presented you with?
No, I didn't go back and like grab the audio or anything from last time.
That's why your show is losing viewers.
It would be fun to do that, just to go back through the specific questions and that. But I did actually write down some of the specific points that I was trying to get to. There was one that I couldn't find the actual answer to, and it's because I can't remember the name of what the actual thing is called that I studied in sociology. It's a thing where people who I'm really, the 7% sticks out in my mind, but the problem is I can't find the thing. There's a certain type of criminal who they don't age out of crime. There's 7% of people who will reoffend and reoffend and reoffend, and it's like 7%.
Lifelong criminals.
Yeah, they're it's not even career criminals or anything like that. That's not the name they gave them. It's a certain percent that really they end up taking up like are responsible for like a vast number of the offenses because they will not age out of crime like most people will. And
Are they normally like just petty criminals? Those types, I mean, I think you know the type. We've all met. I mean, we've met them, and they're like in out, in out, in out. I was there for 30 years. I'd see guys come in 7 times sometimes,
right. And it's
and they never really do anything serious. It's always like just petty things, and that's probably has something to do with why they're
Or kleptomaniacs, like people that just can't.
Well, I don't think it's we're not talking about kleptomaniacs. We're talking about people.
But it's okay. Yes, you're not, but you are, because think about it. A kleptomaniac, they can't stop stealing. It's like a compulsion, and I could repeatedly put people back in prison too.
That could. I'm not really talking about that though. I'm talking about people that more often than not they're just in the drug addict variety, and
So you're just talking about a basic dope thing.
steal constantly to get by, and they're totally willing to do the small amount of time that they have to do to get back out in the streets and spend another 4 or 5 years out there living the way they want to live.
Oh, Amir Van David.
I wasn't
Right.
going to say that's Lashon Hara, but I'll leave that one alone.
right. What the study really didn't put it on whether it was stealing or if it was like drugs or anything like that. But I remember it was like one of the first things you studied in criminology was the fact that the majority of people, when given the opportunity, like they'll be in and out, and then if they can catch the right chances, they'll drop off. But there are certain types that they will just keep on doing that. They'll just keep on reoffending, whether it is theft or those petty drug offenses, and keep going. Was that the dog?
Sorry, my dog's over here having a dream, and my dog's making faces in her sleep.
Fair. So yeah, so that was the only thing I couldn't find. I couldn't find what that is called. If any,
Is there any did you ever study any statistic about crime or criminals that suggested like one thing that tends to reduce recidivism more than anything else? I mean, like if 2 guys who end up in prison, everything's equal, and one of them like finds a hobby or something, or gets married, or something else, something other than just aging out, that significantly reduces his chances of reoffending.
that
Learn to trade.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there anything like that? Any one thing that really is a standout?
that would be great to look into. The thing that was
I mean, no one's looked into this.
people have looked into this.
But it's like, okay, so the way, okay, so we're along the same line, right?
Right.
We've got people, okay, we'll just use drug addicts for an example, right?
Right.
So they commit petty crimes, keep going back to jail, back to prison. Ooh, they go, violate, whatever, right? So they spend, a lifetime of doing this. But then you have other people that are they just do crime. And that's what they do.
Right.
And they keep going back to prison. But they're not, so those people aren't like what you're saying, so they're not necessarily doing it for drugs, they're just doing it because they have this compulsion to do crime.
In order for you to be in that category they're talking about, requires you to have to reoffend over and over again. You're not going to be able to do that over a lifetime if you ever get big time. If you get a lot of time, you get a lot of big sentence.
Hello. Can we talk about my life here? I got a 25-year sentence the first time.
How long did you do on it, though?
I did 5 years on it.
That's
and then
my
I
point.
went back on a violation. Then I went back on a violation. Then I went back on a violation. And then I was like, fuck, I'm tired of this.
But those violations, you weren't. That's not reoffending.
If you want me to pull my criminal record, I could show you where I reoffended, and I kept violating and reoffending and getting a new charge and getting violated because I got a new case.
You were getting violated. No.
Don't make it sound dirty. You're an ass.
When you say dirty ass, it sounds bad.
That sounds violated.
It sounds bad. Or dilated. Anyways. You got to cut that out. My mom's going to watch this.
Your mom knows you got violated. It's okay.
Oh, God.
I told her we talked last week.
Okay. Did you talk to my mom?
I did.
You did, didn't you?
Oh, gosh.
My mom likes you for some reason.
Everybody likes me.
No, not everybody.
Sheridan likes me.
I could. Oh, here we go. How old is she?
Hey, stop.
I think I forgot. How old is she?
All right, we all know how old Cher is. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anyway, but as far as what you're talking about, I remember one thing I had to look up when they started cutting, like making the restrictions on mail and visitation and things like that. I did look that up to see if there's any numbers that backed up whether or not visits and mail actually helps like recidivism, and those do. Like any contact with the outside reduces your chances of recidivism. So really, when they cut the mail and they make it harder to get in mail and they make visits more difficult, they actually increase the odds of recidivism. And there are numbers to back that up. Because anytime you like decrease contact with the outside community, then it actually increases recidivism.
Oh, I got a really good idea for another episode.
I get that.
Just thinking about.
Because it completely isolates them.
Right.
Cuts them off from the world. But ironically,
Well,
now
what would that have to do with recidivism?
because once they're there, they're just, because think about it. When you go to prison, you're completely cut off from the outside world, and you enter in a whole another world that you live in, a world within a world, So if you have no contact with the outside world, I can see how it just promote to, people just staying and having that mindset of like, well, fuck it.
Yeah, but they get out. I mean, some of these people get out and they stay out for years. I mean, they certainly that should have washed out of them,
Some people get out and don't stay out but maybe a couple months.
or even less. I mean, I understand, but that would be another good statistic to look up to see what the average amount of time is that these constant reoffenders stay out. Because the one that you mentioned earlier manages to stay out for 2-3 years at a time. That's his average.
I would say, yeah, looking at how
What was
long.
your average?
3 to 5 years.
Let's see. There you go.
Actually, I'll say 2 to 5 years.
And I get what you're saying because I was thinking the exact same thing. Because when you get into prison, you get thrust into this alternate reality where.
Thrusted.
Yeah, here we go. You get thrown into this other reality where the things that are just absolutely unheard of in the free world are commonplace, and you're told that these are the values that you need to aspire to. Being some kind of savage, brutal asshole that goes around and forcing everybody to do what he wants them to do through violence is suddenly the greatest thing you can possibly be.
Right. And you
No
learn.
one respects you and gives you all sorts of, kudos and
Do you read that?
No, I can't even see it. I don't have my glasses on.
I'm sending you something, Ryan. I'm texting you something.
Okay.
Go after us.
Right in the middle of a podcast.
It has to do with the podcast.
You're not good at this podcasting, you know that.
Look, he's going to edit this shit, so we're fine.
Are you sure he's going to edit it? Because he has a habit of leaving the absolute worst, most unflattering things in the podcast.
Look, we'll give you this. Look.
Oh God. So for those of you in the podcast audience, what Dave just held up to the screen is a meme that says, when you find the perfect woman who goes on walks and opens doors for you, and it showed a prison officer waiting at a door, because that's exactly what happens, because you're not allowed to open doors in prison if you're an inmate. So yeah.
To your 4x8 cell.
Yes.
Literally.
Yep.
We need to do an episode specifically about the mailroom. One of these days.
Yes, we do.
About the book burners in the mailroom.
I used to leave notes I used to write like little PSs to the mailroom. I would just say like, I don't know, just weird, or very I don't know if y'all.
Oh, you did sarcasm. That was smart. You know, they have power to, jack you for your mail. I mean, why not?
I didn't care.
Oh, well, yeah, you weren't going to be there very long. What do you care?
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't do 30 years.
Yeah, I know you just made it really difficult for me to get my mail.
And there we have it, folks. Inadvertently, I fucked the mail system too. It's my fault that you do not get mail in prison anymore.
Dude, they got tablets now. I mean, there's a completely different systems. I mean, in the 1.5 years since I've been out of prison, the whole entire way that you get mail has been completely changed. I wouldn't recognize.
Oh, so there was a guy that was at Stringfellow with us, and this dude named Caballero, right? Ray Caballero. I talked to him recently. He had been out, I don't know, 6 years or so, and he ended up going back to jail for some old stuff that was from before. But he spent like 4 months in the county, and he was telling me in the county they all have these tablets, and they're like jailbreaking these tablets and like putting music on them and shit. And it's like, but he said, yeah, it's you go in and you get a tablet, and that's where
they give you a tablet.
Yeah, they give you a tablet, and that's how you do all your communication.
But the tablet doesn't have, you can't get movies or music on it.
Well, no, your people can buy stuff for you.
Oh, okay, well, that's cool. Man, that is just light years ahead of where we were whenever we left. Not that long ago.
I could see it going both ways. You can get, like, now you can see your JPEGs on a tablet, but I'd also still like to have, like, some of the best stuff was like getting the physical mail. Like, those were some of the best moments, and it really, that was, to me, that was the craziest thing, the fact that they put so many restrictions on it. And
I mean,
yeah,
I get that too, because it's, when you get a physical piece of mail, it's a piece of mail that's been handled by the person that's writing you. So it's like you get a piece of them with you,
right?
So I get the sentiment behind it. However, for me personally, I mean, digital is easier, especially if you could do email. So where you could actually, carry on a conversation with somebody like almost in real time.
Right, and like that's the biggest thing is if you can have it close. The closer you can get to real time, the more in touch. So that is nice too. I just wish it didn't come at the sacrifice of, like, the tablets coming at the sacrifice of that.
See, but I would trade the physical mail for the tablet mail any day of the week.
Oh, great.
Why?
You gotta explain that statement.
Well, that's the reason so let's put it this way. So I have a tablet. So I understand it on the podcast. I'm in prison here in the world, right?
Right.
So you can shoot me an email. I can get it, and I could be like, oh, all right, cool. So then I shoot you an email back, and we can just go back and forth. So, and say if it's like a 2-hour delay, it's still within, it's a more of a real-time conversation, and it's more of a conversation instead of I'm getting a letter and then I have to respond to the letter, or I get a letter from somebody who I asked them questions about this, that, or the other, and they completely did not respond to anything that I asked them about. They just went on into their whole little diatribe of how selfish they are in their lives and about how my life is so stupid because it's on hold and I'm in prison. But with the digital communication,
let it all out, Dave.
You have more of a.
I'm here for you.
It's more instant. You know what I mean? It's like it's not. And then of course, our great mailroom. Somebody can write you a letter, and it's on the unit in a day or two, but you get it like 10 days later.
But that's the thing is, like, I feel
up and come up with some kind of ridiculous reason why your mail shouldn't go out or some mail shouldn't come in, because they're personally offended by something that was said, or I had a letter that I was trying to send to Dan to a friend of mine's brother. Almost said his name. To a friend of mine's brother, and they just assumed because they have the same last name that I was sending a letter to the brother that was in prison. and which is illegal, and just denied it. And I went down there and explained it. And this guy has a brother who they happen to share a name, but if you look at the address, it's clearly not prison I'm sending this letter to. They didn't care. They just said, no, we think that you're sending it to this other guy, and just threw my mail away.
Because they're Nazis.
They're book burners. They will burn your comic book.
And that's a whole nother story. Like, I got some books in there that were just pretty erotic, right? Yet then I get a magazine and they won't let me have it because it has a picture of a chick in a bikini or something. It's just like, are you freaking kidding me?
Well, there's books that they denied, because of classic pieces of artwork in them. Yeah. That were, very tasteful stuff that every kid sees in a museum, and they deny it because they can interpret that as pornography.
Well, I always tell the story about the book by a rabbi that my mom tried to send me, and they denied it because there's a criminal act in it.
Right. I mean, seriously?
What book does not? The Bible has criminal acts in it.
Exactly.
What?
But the Bible fits along with their whole conservative Christian philosophy. And, that is the Texas prison system.
I guarantee you if it was a, one of those fire and brimstone preachers with the same exact story about how...
You would have got it.
I would have got it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That's
they would have hand-delivered that to your cell. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
That's kind of a dangerous subject. I can get emotional about this pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard one.
You lose enough mail over time, and that stuff does. And then they make it so horrendous. You got to repay for the whole entire book, damn near, to get it back to your family, so that you can't read it. I had comic books and books that I did send back to my family that would have been there for 20 years waiting on me to get out and read those things.
Yeah. No, well, we actually just spent like an entire episode not talking about any of the things we were talking.
Well, we did start talking about statistics.
We did. We started
with the mail.
Yeah, but it was with the mail and like recidivism and things like that.
I knew that was going to be a hot button ticket. That's why I said I just had a great idea for an episode.
No, we've talked about this a few times.
Your episode.
And everybody drink Topo Chico because it's a great, refreshing,
what is that
sparkling beverage.
We should just try. Yeah, we need to start looking for sponsors. Get Topo Chico to sponsor us, and
that would be awesome.
Yeah, get free Topo Chico every episode.
Do you drink that stuff? What is it?
It's like club soda, like flavored club soda.
It is not club soda.
It's not. Well, explain it.
Shut your mouth. It is. It's a artisan mineral water, carbonated mineral water, and Topo Chico, my friend. You can leave it out on the counter for 12 hours and it will still have carbonation.
Wow.
And this has Mio energy drink in it too, because I was falling asleep.
Is it kosher?
Here's to you, Mio.
No one's answering my kosher question.
I don't know.
It is kosher.
Are you sure? Is there a hexer on it?
It's no.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I was going to lie and I decided not to.
We're not getting sponsored by anything that's not kosher.
My dog will sponsor us.
That's all we need.
The Shakedown was produced at Longmont Public Media. And our theme song, Shakedown, was brought to you by Envato Elements. If you want any Shakedown merchandise, or you want to support the show, you can go to waywordpress.com. That's WAYWORD press.com.